Heather Barr is a senior researcher on women's rights at Human Rights Watch. She has contributed to the report and joins us now from Yangon. Heather, thank you very much for your time. I understand that this report interviewed almost 40 Kachin women who have survived being trafficked. What were the stories they were telling you?
So these were the most heartbreaking stories that you can imagine. These are women who had been affected by the conflict. They were struggling to feed their families, to feed themselves, and someone offered them what seemed like a wonderful opportunity to go to China and work. But what happened was it turned out that the person offering that job was actually a trafficker. And so these women were sold to families in China for between $3,000 and $13,000 US. They were kept as prisoners. They were raped repeatedly. They were urged to get pregnant as quickly as possible because these families were really hoping to have a child born from these trafficked brides. And then when they finally made it back to Myanmar, they really struggle. They're in the same situation that they were in before they were trafficked, but also have to cope with trauma that they've experienced and with stigma within their communities, and sometimes with having left a child behind them that they'll never see again.
About half of the women that were interviewed said they were recruited by friends or an acquaintance. One woman sold by a friend from her Bible school, another recruited by a 13-year-old girl that she knew. The people who are doing this recruiting, are they the ones who are being paid for having these women taken to China to then be sold?
Yes, so these are small trafficking networks consisting sometimes of 3, 4, 5, 6 people. And the money that's being paid by the families to buy these brides, none of it is going to the women themselves. It's being split among the traffickers. And as you point out, these are usually people who know the woman well. In 6 cases, it was actually a family member.
Sorry, Heather, are you still there? I just think the line in my ear.
Yes, can you hear me?
You are there, sorry. I thought it had gone extremely quiet and we may have lost you. In terms of complicity, in terms of responsibility, in terms of what Human Rights Watch is calling for the governments of Myanmar and China to do, there's definitely an issue here in terms of how Myanmar treats its ethnic minorities. In Kachin, there are a group of ethnic minorities there. We know what's been happening with the Rohingya Muslims who have been forced to flee what the UN calls a genocide. So how likely is it that there is going to be any sort of reaction from the part of Myanmar where it's got this attitude, it seems, towards minorities, and then the attitude of the Chinese government where clearly the previous one-child policy has left many men without brides?
So as you rightly point out, this is a very difficult issue to create change on, but we do still think that change is possible. We're asking donors and the United Nations to really push the Myanmar government to increase access to humanitarian assistance in Kachin and northern Shan state. And we're pushing donors to provide more services to the organization, to survivors, because there are some community organizations in Kachin and northern Shan state that are doing a really wonderful job of trying to help women who are being trafficked and trying to prevent trafficking, but they're doing that work with very few resources.
Heather, we're going to leave it there, but we really would like to thank you for your time and talking to us about this report that has been published and that you've contributed towards. Thanks a lot.